What up, fam? Let's help Matt understand the magnetic field on a flat Earth. Okay, so we don't live on a single torus, we live between a double torus. On a magnetic field, you have something called a block domain wall, which is effectively a static plane. It doesn't move. It's right in the middle of this double torus. That's where we live. For example, and again, here we got a magnet underneath the ferrule cell. The top view would be looking down, and then right here we got a side view. So for example, here you can see there's two spinning vortices. Pretty cool. There you go. Okay, so hopefully you and the audience understand that part. Now let's look at the path of the ISS over a flat Earth and a globe. Which one makes more sense and matches that magnetic field? The flat Earth. And look where it doesn't go in the middle, because that's the North Pole, which makes perfect sense on a flat and geocentric Earth. And no, that's not a globe flattened out. You guys can't even concede what a flat Earth map would objectively be. Now, the path of the moon over a flat Earth. Look again, it fits perfectly within that magnetic field that we experience, the top half over the Earth. Also, the planets. Again, fitting perfectly within those magnetic field lines, and they don't go in the middle, aka the North Pole. And there's just a view of all of them together, pretty beautiful. And last but not least, people had used a supercomputer to map the position of the sun, and it actually falls within a torus field over the Earth. What a coincidence. So yeah, I hope that helped. We don't live on a globe, we live on a static plane between a double torus. Peace. What up, fam? We're back at it with a fun one that triggers the globers. This time we're talking about two things: sea cables and southern cruises, or maybe a lack of. So here we got a Mercator map of the Earth, and there's a few places where these sea cables don't connect. Check this out. From South America to South Africa, or from South Africa to Australia, or from Australia to South America. These should work perfectly on a globe, but they don't connect, and I'll show you why. Because the Earth is not a ball, it's actually flat. For example, South America to South Africa. That would be way further on a flat Earth, or from South Africa to Australia, or from Australia all the way to South America. Look how far that is on a flat Earth. That's why there's no sea cables connecting in the south, because the south is way bigger on a flat Earth. And now the other part, talking about cruises, why are there no cruises from South America to Australia or South America to New Zealand? Because like I just showed you, that distance is way too far. So again, South America all the way to New Zealand or Australia. That's why there's no cruises, because the distance is way too far. We don't live on a globe, y'all. So how many coincidences do you guys need that point to a flat Earth to stop believing in your cartoon globe model? What up, fam? I get it. Globers are gonna freak out over this video. This is the star Sirius, which is one of the brightest, if not the brightest star in our night sky. I understand that the star might be out of focus, but I just want to show you a couple things. First off, look how beautiful that is. Secondly, it looks like it's in a liquid-like medium, like it's underwater. This is of no coincidence. They're even claiming that dark matter now is a superfluid. There's water and liquid everywhere. Here's a cool experiment with a bowl of water, the sun, and a backdrop, and it resembles what the stars look like. Here's a video that I did myself, same sort of results. Here's the star Sirius again. It looks like it's underwater. There's a reason scripture says they separated the waters above from the waters below. Coincidence? I think not. We don't know what the stars are. The globe model claims they know everything about anything and everything. They know the distance, what they're made out of, etc. We don't know. We have no way of verifying what they are. If you guys really do want to learn about the true nature of where we live, go download the app. Referral code. And no, I don't get paid for this, Globers, okay? It just shows how many people you helped. Calm down. You can't give me a single verse that says flat. I can give you a verse that says globe. Game on, bro. 1537 Bible, 2 Samuel 11:11. Oh, weird. What's it say right there? Flat Earth. And there you go again, so you can read it a little better. So now that I objectively proved that you were wrong, please concede. Also, your only alleged proof of a verse that says globe is a verse that says circle, and in that same book, they actually use a different Hebrew for the word ball. Keep grasping at straws, bud. Hey buddy, not sure what ancient civilizations you're thinking about, but they all knew it was flat with some sort of containment. This is when the cognitive dissonance starts to kick in. Yeah, soak it up, brother. What a beautiful sight. What up, fam? Check this out. If we animate all sun positions over a year, the animation gives us the impression of a wave going around the field, like an outside source pushing and pulling on the field and then projecting its image in it, that being the sun or the moon. Alright, so check this out. A rainbow is a source projection and its source is the sun. Therefore, if the sun is a source projection of an unknown source, we can start modeling the path of the sun for each observer on Earth. So that's what we did. We took just one longitude, being the 0 UTC meridian on Earth, and then inputted data from observations for azimuth and declination of the sun, and then traced that sun object for that location for a year for each 10th latitude north and south of the equator, and then just let the data run its course for a year. And drum roll, guess what the result was? What a surprise, a torus field around the Earth. Beautiful. Even though the sun is an equal distance to the observer, the shape and layout still ended up being a torus field. How cool is that? Alright, so this is a magnet underneath a ferrocell, and with what we know about magnetic holography, it's as if the sun is projected into the electromagnetic field in the sky. So the sun follows the magnetic field lines that are unique to each location on Earth. Now here's another magnet underneath the ferrocell. So the top here, the bottom, this line in the middle is called the inertial plane or the block domain wall. That's effectively where we live. And again, here's a magnet through a ferrocell, but this time you're looking at it from a top view. Refer to my video, The Magnetic Field, that explains it pretty well. What up, fam? About to ladle some gravy right here. So this is what a torus field looks like underneath a ferrocell. So for example, let's say that this is the top of the torus field. So let's say that was the top, right? As above, so below. Has some truth to it. And then right in the middle is something called a block domain wall. That's effectively where we live. So we don't live on a sphere, we live in a sphere. So here's another example. We live in the middle, as above, so below. So we know what the torus field looks like underneath a ferrocell. This is the orbit of the ISS. This is public information. Does the orbit look familiar? How about now? It's following the path of the torus field. And did you guys notice the orbit of the ISS where it does not go? Doesn't go anywhere near the North Pole or the so-called South Pole. So the so-called planets, or just wandering stars, also have perfect sacred geometry as if they're also following the magnetic field. Heliocentric, geocentric. Not observable reality, all observable reality. Perfect sacred geometry. And then here's another view for you. Look at that. Perfect sacred geometry. Once you understand where you live and how it works, it's honestly immaculate. It's beautiful. I personally don't know how anybody could look at this and think that the Earth was not intelligently designed. What up, fam? This is the inside of a torus field, and today we're going to talk about nature's inherent or intrinsic shape, that being a torus. We were looking at it from the inside. This is what it would look like from the outside. Everything follows this design. Nature. We see this everywhere. The electromagnetic field of the heart. This is actually measurable when you have love and when you have fear. Now, does it make a little more sense the last few years when they told you to stay 6 feet away? It's everywhere. Some will say that our eyes are the window to our soul. What's the shape of an eye? Well, you guessed it. It's a torus. So maybe the torus is the gate to our soul. On top of that, every sound that comes out of our mouth is a torus. Even the baby babble from the globers. Why? Because our larynx has 3 sphincters, which in themselves are toroidal muscles. So here's a representation of vowels and their toroidal spin resonance. Letters from the Hebrew alphabet are all derived from a rotating torus as well. And the Muru Foundation backs this up. And don't worry, fam, I didn't forget about how this relates to the Earth. We don't live on a sphere, we live within a sphere. Every magnetic field has something called a black domain wall. If we look at this top left picture, that line in the middle, that white one, that's a black domain wall. Another word for that is an inertial plane, meaning it's inertial, it's static, it does not move. This would be looking at the magnetic field from a side view. Now this top right one, if we were in space, quote unquote, looking down, that's what we would see. Okay, so how did we get this shape? Where does it come from? This is a ferrocell and a magnet. Basically, it's just 2 optical flats with ferrofluid in the middle that has magnetic suspension that lets us see these lines when we put LEDs around the outside. So this is a magnet, and you can see the field lines. Now I take the same magnet, flip it on its side, and then you can see the South and the North Pole. Here's a video as well to give you a little demonstration of what it looks like. So now that we know what a magnetic field looks like, let's dig a little deeper. So again, a magnet underneath a ferrocell, look at the design, and let's match it with the path of the ISS. So here we go, this is the path of the ISS, public information, layer it over a magnetic field, boom, matches perfectly. Look where it doesn't go in the center, aka the North Pole. Alright, so now we input data for observations for the azimuth and declination of the sun for an entire year, and guess what? A torus field. What a surprise. Matches perfectly within the magnetic field. Now if we animate all sun positions over a year, it's like a wave pushing and pulling through the field. This is not a coincidence. So here, magnetic field lines again underneath a ferrocell, and over here we have the apparent pattern of a solar eclipse. Looks exactly the same. What a surprise. The path of the moon over a flat earth works perfectly within that torus field again. Alright, so here's the so-called planets, which are just wandering stars, and the paths that they make over a flat earth. Makes perfect sense because it matches the magnetic field, once again, when allegedly we're flying within all of this. The beautiful patterns that the wandering stars make over our earth. So here's a representation of the so-called planets, aka wandering stars, just doing sacred geometry. So here we have the sun position data projected on a plane surface from one longitude. Versus long exposure of the sun for a year using a pinhole camera matches perfectly. And again, fits right within the torus field. What happens when we take magnetic flux data and put it on a plane surface? It matches perfectly, and you have a vortex just like it shows here. So if you guys enjoyed what you watched, I would be sincerely grateful if you would comment, like, post, share, get the word out there. Let's help each other out. Also, if you guys want to learn more about this, go download the Flat Earth Clock app. Referral code 46731. Let's do it! What up, fam? Sacred geometry is the underlying form of geometry in nature. Check this out. Plants aren't the only thing that take on this shape. Snowflakes. So that first picture that I showed you was a 2D version of a torus, which you'll see in the top left here. This bottom one right here is the 3D version. Every single person watching this TikTok has an electromagnetic field radiating around their body. So when you live in fear and anxiety, this electromagnetic field is actually weaker. And to the contrary, when you have emotions of love or selflessness, this field is actually stronger. Now, the average span of this field is 6 feet, probably why they told you to stay 6 feet away. And when you actually get close with people, it connects. So these geometric shapes and patterns don't just end there. We see them other places as well. We see sacred geometry in our DNA, old cathedral windows. We can see these within musical notes and frequencies. This is the first octave of piano notes. So this would bring us to cymatics, which is effectively the study of visible sound vibration. You can use certain fluids and lights to basically display the changing nature of sound as well as matter. So as the pitch of the tone increases, it basically changes the geometric shapes and makes them more complex. There's probably a reason he told us to think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So staying on the topic of these geometric shapes, if you take a magnet and you put it on a ferrule cell, it actually lets you see these magnetic field lines. It's really beautiful. For example, he's got a magnet, we're putting it on this cell that has a fluid that has magnetic suspension, that lets you see those lines. Pretty cool. So with that being said, let's look at the path of the ISS over a geocentric Earth, and then we map that magnetic field over it. It matches perfectly. And remember, this is over a geocentric Earth, meaning the Earth at the center of creation. So as a demonstration, you got heliocentric, which is what they tell us that we're flying around the sun, or geocentric, which works perfectly within these magnetic field lines in that sacred geometry, which makes more sense to you. And it's of no coincidence that the paths of the planets, which are just wandering stars, follow within that magnetic field lines as well, perfectly over a geocentric Earth. Here's a picture showing all of them together. So we have people that have been able to use a supercomputer to actually map the position of the sun, and it falls within that torus field as well. And of course, the path of the moon falls perfectly within that torus shape as well. Want to learn more about this cool stuff? Go download the Flat Earth Clock app. Use code 46731. No, I don't get paid for this. Calm down. What up, fam? So I made a video for Matt about 2 days ago, but it looks like he still needs a little help. He originally said you could see the curvature from 30,000 feet, which we know is absolutely ridiculous because you can't. And then he dumbed down even more and said you could see it from the beach. But at the same time, we can take high altitude balloons, send them up over 100,000 feet, and it's completely flat. And the horizon rises towards eye level, which would never happen on a ball. So where's the curve, Matt? And again, another one. Where is it? Where's the curve? Nowhere to be found. I'm really looking forward to your rebuttal. And again, and there's a reason they call it the horizon, because it's horizontal. It's not curving. What up, fam? Globers actually believe the sun is 93 million miles away. No, seriously, they actually do. So Globers, I got a question for you. This is a screenshot from a high altitude balloon over 100,000 feet, and we got a local hotspot right underneath the sun. So how on earth, if the sun is 93 million miles away, do we have a hotspot right on top of the clouds? If the sun was actually 93 million miles away, you'd have evenly distributed 90-degree parallel rays across that entire side of the Earth. So here's just a reminder of what the Globers believe. How do we have a hotspot if we're flying around the sun and it's 93 million miles away? It makes no sense. The globe model makes no sense. Also, quick side note, notice how the horizon rises towards eye level and that dipped down and away like it would on a globe. So allegedly we're spinning, we're flying through space, we're going through all these different vectors, you just can't tell. But we have an earthquake, and then you can tell the Earth moves. All the Globers will say is, well, yeah, because the Earth is going at constant speed, you wouldn't be able to tell. Cool story. This is where Globers think we live. Oh, you just can't feel it. Oh, it's an illusion. So all these different vectors spinning, flying through space, but yet we can stack rocks perfectly. This would never, ever, ever happen if we lived on a spinning ball flying through space. You guys, it's time to wake up. The Earth is flat and stationary. We're not moving. Trust your senses. The Creator gave them to you for a reason. What up, fam? I just wanted to share some absolutely beautiful footage of the moon from my good friend David Shane. If you don't follow him, go do it. You'll be absolutely blown away by the footage he captures. It's immaculate.